Right now, there are over 2 billion people posting content online.
Yeah, that is a wild number.
It really is. 2 billion people just uploading, tweeting, recording, basically screaming into the digital void.
Mm.
And most of that output is just contributing to the background noise of the internet.
Exactly, just pure static.
Right, but a select few are actually cutting through that static. They're turning their thoughts into these massive, highly profitable digital empires.
Mm.
So we are welcoming you, the learner, to a deep dive into the blueprint of that exact process.
It's a really fascinating process to break down.
Today, we're looking at this insightful 2025 guide. It's called Writing, Branding, Content Creation by Caleb Olayiwola. And our mission for this deep dive is to map out the journey from having a raw idea to building a fully fledged digital brand.
Yeah, because it gives you the exact tools and, the mindset needed to actually thrive in such a crowded internet landscape.
Exactly. Because whether you're prepping for a business launch or maybe trying to write better or honestly just intensely curious about how the digital economy works, this source material breaks down how words on a screen become profitable brands.
It demystifies the whole thing. It shows that it's not just luck.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because before anyone can build a brand or create digital content, they have to master the most basic medium of human expression, right?
Yeah.
Writing.
Yeah, writing is the absolute bedrock of all of this.
But, I mean, what actually makes someone a writer in the modern age? Because Caleb points out that an article is just a short piece expressing a point of view. It could literally be a 280-character tweet.
Right, or a deeply researched newspaper column. It varies wildly. And he addresses this myth that you need, like, a formal education to be a writer.
Oh, yeah, the gatekeeping aspect.
Exactly. I mean, he notes that while formal education obviously helps, especially for, highly technical topics, anyone who can hold a pen or use a smartphone notepad can technically be a writer.
Which is super empowering. But he also has this brutally honest quote about the ultimate goal of a writer. He says, and I'm quoting here, "If your readers are having difficulty understanding the content of your message, you failed as a writer."
Wow. Yeah, that is blunt, but it's true.
It is. And to avoid that failure, he outlines the 4 attributes of a good writer. So there's simplicity, formation, details, and fluency.
Right. And formation is about the formatting, the spacing, the navigation.
Making it visually digestible, yeah. And details is about quenching the reader's thirst for an actual explanation, while fluency is just that eloquent flow.
But simplicity is the one he really hammers home, breaking down big words so literally anyone can understand.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of building a bridge. Like, it doesn't matter how beautiful the bridge looks on your side, with all your big vocabulary. If it doesn't actually reach the reader's mind, it's useless.
That's a great way to look at it.
So tell me, why is simplicity highlighted as the absolute ultimate key here?
Well, what's fascinating here is that communication isn't about proving how smart you are. It's not about showing off.
Right, like using massive jargon just to sound authoritative.
Exactly. It's about bringing the audience to your level of understanding. A good writer is ultimately just a really good reader of their audience. They anticipate the friction.
So they strip away anything that gets in the way of the core idea. I love that. But, we've established how to write, but reading through this, where you write can drastically change your journey.
Oh, absolutely. Geography still matters.
Right. The source material suddenly shifts to the specific geographical realities of freelance writing in Nigeria. It proves that the digital world definitely still has physical borders.
It's a huge reality check because he highlights demographic data like, as of 2021, according to global data, 77.62% of Nigerians are literate.
Which means the baseline capability there is just massive. There is so much talent.
Huge amounts of talent. But despite that high literacy, Nigerian writers face these really unique physical hurdles.
Yeah, like the lack of constant electricity, which is crazy to think about when you rely on a laptop.
Exactly. And the inability to afford premium tools like Grammarly because of exchange rates, plus a super limited number of payment gateways to actually receive funds from foreign clients.
Wait, so let me push back on this a little bit. In an entirely digital, cloud-based gig economy where everything is on a server somewhere, why does a creator's physical location still create that much friction?
Well, it comes down to the fact that talent is evenly distributed, but infrastructure is not.
Ah, right, the physical reality of the internet.
Yeah, and Caleb critiques what he calls the research and pitch gap. Because of these hurdles, many local writers fail to use proper references or set up personal portfolio websites.
Which makes it so much harder to attract global, high-paying clients, right?
Precisely. The international clients expect a certain level of polish, and overcoming these infrastructural hurdles requires just incredible determination.
So the people who do succeed out of those environments are incredibly resilient.
They have to be. It forces a level of resourcefulness that actually becomes a competitive advantage.
That makes total sense. So moving from the struggles of the profession itself, how does someone actually generate the material to stand out?
You mean moving from just simple writing to intentional content creation?
Exactly. Because the internet is so saturated. To compete, Caleb says your content has to be rare, realistic, and valuable. But how do you even find that idea?
He actually shares this great meta anecdote about that. He was sitting in his room just staring at his phone for an hour,
Oh, we've all been there.
totally stuck on what to write for his book. But then the idea hit him. He decided to write about the actual struggle of needing an idea.
Here where it gets really interesting, because an idea like that, it's like catching lightning in a bottle. Your skills and your knowledge, those are the bottle, but the idea itself, that's the lightning.
That's a perfect analogy. And lightning strikes fast, which is why Caleb stresses the habit of readiness.
Keeping a pen handy at all times.
Yes, or your phone's notepad. Because those fleeting ideas, if you don't capture them instantly, they're gone.
But capturing it is one thing. How does goal setting transform that random flash of an idea into actual usable content?
Caleb has a strict rule for this. You have to ask yourself two things. What am I getting from this? And how will this benefit my audience?
So there has to be a clear, mutual exchange of value.
Exactly. And to deliver that value, content requires intense attention to detail.
Right. He uses the laptop review example. Like if you review a laptop, you can't just say it's fast. You must know its specific technical specs, the peripherals, everything.
Yeah, and you also have to constantly upgrade your skills. Like keeping up with YouTube algorithm updates, or you just lose relevance entirely.
So it's a never-ending learning curve.
Right.
But once you have the idea and you have the detailed content, what is the ultimate end game here?
For most creators, it's building a brand and a business.
Right. The content creation is the fuel, but the branding is the actual vehicle.
Caleb defines branding as an umbrella. It basically serves as a cover for everything you build and sell.
And he drops this golden rule in the text, which I just love. He says, every brand is a content.
It's a great way to phrase it, but you have to know how to spot branded content. It's not just a random meme posted for fun.
Right, there's a specific mechanic to it. Branded content always has a call to action or a CTA.
Exactly. Actionable words like contact us, or book now, or literally just a linked phone number. It asks the audience to do something.
And that CTA is what drives the 5 stages of business growth via content that he maps out.
Yeah, let's walk through those. Stage 1 is visibility.
Getting known beyond your immediate local area, like reaching someone in Ibadan when you're based in Lagos.
Right. Then stage 2 is credibility.
Huh.
This is where you prove your worth through authentic, helpful information.
You show them you actually know what you're talking about. Then comes stage 3, brand awareness.
This is when it starts spreading like wildfire. People understand what you do, and they're primed and ready to buy.
Which naturally leads to stage 4, exposure. Becoming famous and easily identifiable among all your competitors.
And finally, stage 5, trust.
Okay, wait, let me jump in on that 5th stage.
Yeah.
Trust. Can you just market your way into trust?
What do you mean?
Like if I write a great article and my CTA is perfect and I get lots of exposure, do people automatically trust my business?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Caleb gives a very explicit warning about this. Trust cannot be faked or enforced.
So you can't just buy it with good content.
No, not at all. Content draws the attention, sure, but the product itself must actually be up to standard. Trust only forms naturally over time when the product delivers on the promise the content made.
That is such a vital distinction. The content makes the promise, the product keeps it.
Exactly.
Okay, so now that you, the learner, understand the philosophy, the strategy, the business mechanics of all this, you need the practical tools to actually do the work.
The creator's toolkit.
Yes. And Caleb breaks down the hardware and software you actually need, starting with a compulsory starting point, smartphones.
They really are amazing. They're compact multitaskers, equipped with cameras, notepads, voice recorders. It's the ultimate starter tool.
But eventually you hit a wall, right? Which is why he lists PCs, laptops, or desktops.
Yeah, for the heavy lifting, if you're editing 8K video or creating detailed infographics, a phone screen is just way too small.
And graphic design needs that spatial precision. He also highly recommends digital cameras like DSLR or mirrorless.
Which makes sense because he notes that 70% of online content relies on pictures.
Yeah, a picture says 1,000 words, especially if you're doing something like product reviews where the visual details matter.
And we can't forget microphones. He calls them the non-negotiable tool for podcasters and vloggers.
Because if you don't have studio quality audio, people just tune out immediately. Bad audio is the ultimate friction.
Absolutely. And then he lists some specific software recommendations too.
Right, for graphics, he mentions Canva, Adobe Photoshop, Designer.
For writers, things like Grammarly and Evernote.
And for audio, Anchor and Audacity. Plus, InShot, Filmora, and Cyberlink Power Director 365 for video.
It's a really solid stack of tools.
It kind of equates to a chef's kitchen. You don't need every single tool to make a basic sandwich. But if you want a Michelin star, you need the right gear.
That's a great way to frame it.
So I have to ask you, the listener, directly, which of these tools are currently sitting unused in your pocket or just gathering dust on your desk? Because the barriers to entry have never been lower.
The tools are literally right there.
So to summarize this whole deep dive, writing is the absolute bedrock of digital communication. Ideas are what fuel the content. And that content builds brands through a very deliberate funnel moving from basic visibility all the way to trust.
And whether you're just staring at a blank screen waiting for inspiration or you're trying to scale a small business, the mechanics are exactly the same.
So what does this all mean? It means the internet is undeniably a massive, crowded marketplace. But there is absolutely still room for your unique voice if you apply these structured principles.
But this raises an important question. Caleb noted something really profound. He said that an artist's tool is only as good as their site.
Wow, yeah.
In an age where digital tools and software are increasingly accessible to almost everyone, what truly separates the amateur from the professional?
Is it just the tools?
Exactly. Is it the tools we use, or is it the unique perspective we choose to share with the world? What is the one idea you've been sitting on that only you can write about?
That's the real challenge. Time to pick up that pen or that smartphone and start building.